Hi everyone and welcome back to the zombies. So, you've completed the Act 4, collected the legendary items and defeated the Mega Abomination. You have a sigil in your inventory and it's time to visit the Dark Aether. If you have no idea about the things I just mentioned, you may want to catch up on prerequisites to visiting Dark Aether. I'll put the video links in the description. Now, prior to diving into the unknowns of another dimension, let's talk preparations, shall we? Getting the obvious out of the way, the Dark Aether is some of the hardest content to date in the zombies, and it's particularly hard your first time, when you have neither experience nor gear to deal with it. It isn't a horrible idea to team up for it, and even if you don't have a bunch of friends ready to do a raid with you, you can use in-game text chat to ask the server if anyone plans to go to the Dark Aether. Chances are, not only you'll find yourself a company, your new teammates might know the place inside out and might be geared up, making your first experience a breeze. But if you are dead set at doing your first Dark Aether ride solo, let's try to make sure it's a successful run rather than frustration. First and foremost, let's set out a goal for your travel into the Dark Aether: classified loot. The only real purpose of going there is to get the stuff that allows you to progress further into the Elder Aether, which means getting an Elder Sigil, Golden Plates, Aether Blades and Dog Bones. Keep that purpose in mind. Next, your weapons. You really want to bring with you a high mobility, high damage output weapon. My favorite one is a Lockwood 680 shotgun with slugs ammo and 10 rounds barrel. Close next is Akimbo TYR pistols with snake shot rounds. The choices are not limited to that, just remember, you want to be fast and your gun has to be able to kill tier 3 grade zombies with ease. Needless to say, your weapon has to be of high rarity, epic at least, and punched up to level 3. And you want a brain rot ammo mod on it as well, it really helps. As you infill into the round, start making some cash for a long list of things you need. Grind the contracts trying to make it fast. Cargo deliveries are obviously ideal for this. Bounties are great too, as you punch your gun up a bit. While you are doing the contracts, make sure to pick up any chunks of flesh you find, or go farm some. Chunks of flesh have a chance to drop anytime a zombie explodes rather than just dies. This can be triggered by immense damage like Purple Punch 2 gun in low threat zone, explosives or critical hits while insta-kill power up is active. You need 3 chunks. As soon as you have 3 chunks, grab a vehicle and drive into the red to pick up a tier 3 dog. If you don't see a dog house in the usual E4 spot on the west side of the red zone, check out up the hill in the top right corner of F4 quadrant, or on a small island at the very edge of red zone in G3. Having a dog helps a whole lot. If you can't get a dog in the red at all, find one in the medium threat zone. Tier 2 dogs have a much lower life expectancy but are much better than no dog at all. Once you got the dog, keep pumping contracts. Not only it helps with cash, but it also gets you perks, self-revives and possibly Casimirs as reward loot, and all of that is needed. Don't worry about the time too much. You can enter the Dark Aether all the way up until the last second of the match, even deep in the Aether Storm. As you accumulate money and get Punch 3 upgrade on your gun, maximize your perks too. Probably the only perk you don't really need is Death Perception, everything else comes very useful. Definitely get yourself a Tombstone perk to guarantee that if things don't go to plan, you can still recover your valuable loot. If you wipe in the Dark Aether, your Tomb Cache will spawn up in the Monastery Graveyard in I3 quadrant. Spend any remaining cash on spare self-revives, Casimirs and sentry guns. If you happen to find a Scorcher in your round, take it with, it helps a great deal with navigation. If you find a VR11, keep the case in your inventory, it's better used later in the Elder Aether than waste it on a looting run. If you don't have a sigil with you, you'll have to complete contracts in red zone until you get one as a reward. Feel ready? Let's go. Get to the portal island at the top of F6 quadrant and facing towards the red zone, put a sigil into its slot on the left pillar of the portal. Confirm your desire to travel by voting on the map and off we go. As you spawn in the Dark Aether, you'll find yourself in a familiar place as it looks exactly like Albagra in Act 4 mission. 3 Mr. Pig's toys will fly in different directions from the spawn. each indicating a contract you need to complete to get the loot you came for. We'll cover them one by one from easy to hard. Off the bat, go to your left, up onto the ammo depot building where the toxic seal used to be. Speed is of the essence here, the zombies respawn non-stop and you absolutely don't want to get engaged into a messy fight as you'll quickly get overrun. Make your way to the building and up the roof, avoiding contact with local population. Mr. Pix can be found on the front part of the building roof. Pick him up to activate the Aether Extractor contract. Immediately jump down and rush towards the fortress. You want to get to the zip line on the nearest wall. I prefer the one to the left, but there's also another one on the right side which works just as well. Go up the zip to find a bunch of enemies and the first rocket. Drop a Casimir or energy mine and overload the rocket. If you go down, crawl to the rocket and wait for your dog to revive or use yourself, and overload right away. There's just enough time until the zombies aggro again to complete the overload. When done, don't wait for the rocket to go off and immediately rush west to the nearest tower. Go in and up the ladder on your left. Upstairs, run the wall to the next tower and jump down to the next wall. The second rocket is on your left. Repeat the routine to overload it. You can actually do the rockets in any order, but I find this best and I'll show why in a minute. Upon overload, proceed forward and jump off towards the cage stairs. There's another jump that's a bit shorter, but I prefer this as it's harder to miss in the rush. Get to the tower and up the ladder on your right. Exit the door and the rocket will be right behind the dome on your right. Deal with the last rocket to complete the contract. The explosion from the contract completion will give you a brief pause from incoming zombies to quickly loot the reward rift. Now the reason this rocket is best done last is because the exfil portal is located just above this place. So if your loot is good and you feel like you got what you came for and don't want to risk any further, you can safely leave right away, or proceed to the next contract if you want to. In terms of difficulty, the next contract is an Outlast. To get it, pick up the Mr. Pix in the windshield of the green bus, located by the toilet on the road above the beach. The place should be familiar to you from Act 4 mission as well. Once you pick the contract up, turn around and run up the hill to a zip line. Follow through the white doors on your right and follow a short corridor straight to the contract location. Activate the PND. As usual for the Outlast contract, you are in a rather enclosed area that will soon be filled with zombies. Fortunately enough, zombies are not great climbers and prefer to take stairs every time they have a choice. So the key to surviving this contract is to constantly move, killing the zombies you can and jumping off the balconies to quickly climb the opposite side when you feel like you are being overwhelmed. So while I'm busy slaughtering the Zeds, let's talk about rewards for a second. Prime items you are looking for in Dark Aether are gold armors, dog bones, ether blades and elder sigils. You only get consumable items here. Schematics are reserved for the elder version of Dark Aether. You also occasionally get epic and legendary ether tools and wonder weapon cases, but it's the Dark Aether exclusive items that you are really looking for, since each of them is a massive boost to your power. When you're done with the Outlast, you come to a huge decision point. The same exfil I showed before is located straight above you. Take any of the doors located on the balconies and go all the way up. You'll end up by the same dome and the exfil portal is on top of one of the towers. The last Dark Aether contract is an escort with massive amount of zombies attacking non-stop. It's genuinely hard, and even more so when you are not adequately prepared. And right now, I am not. I'm low on plates, only have one Casimir and my dog is dead. At this point it's best to exfil and then return back to the first two contracts again and bail with the loot, until you build a full set of items and rather travel into the Elder version of Dark Aether, where rewards are much better. I'll leave the footage of my failed attempt here anyway, just so you see what to expect, but this contract is a big pain with very little to gain for it in this version of Aether. So my advice to a solo player, grind 2 contracts for loot and safely exfil. The real fun is the Elder Aether anyway. If you really want to finish this contract, make sure to put some more sentry guns on the ACV before you activate it, and have a P.E.K.K.A. punched VR11 with you to heal the ACV. Without that, doing this contract solo is unnecessarily difficult. Your real end goal is to collect at least one full set of Dark Aether items and an Elder Sigil. That you should use to visit an Elder Aether, which offers better rewards and most importantly schematics for these items. But this will cover separately. And that's really all what I have to say for your first travel to the Dark Aether. While loot is of course randomized, this should help you consistently come out of this challenge with at least some Aether loot, and having that loot makes subsequent attempts many times easier.
Completed. Loading system drivers. Drive systems engaged.
Sentry gun deployed!
Hope this was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.